another Doomed review. Today is episode 3 of Hawkeye.
Yes, ma'am.
What a good show, man. I gotta say, I'm getting worried that it's gonna end kind of crappy now because it's off to a strong start.
It is. I'm gonna forewarn you guys, my review and knowledge is going to be a little bit limited on this one because we had guests over the house, so I couldn't really hear everything. I watched it, but I couldn't really fully immerse myself, as you know.
Didn't take your notes.
Yeah. So I'll let you guys kind of take the lead here, and I'll chime in where I possibly can.
So I did listen to your guys' podcast for episode 1 and 2, so I had an idea of what you guys talked about. I just want to start off by saying I would watch Rogers the Musical.
Oh God,
I would now. After what we discovered, I would.
Even before what you guys said, I was like, as soon as I saw it in the commercial, I was like, I would watch that. But I'm also a musical theater nerd.
Yeah, that makes
sense.
Up your alley.
Two things. One big Easter egg we missed in episode 2 during the LARP scene. There was somebody dressed up as classic Hawkeye. Oh. There was an archer in the battle that had on the purple. So the costume that Kate draws out for him, someone had it on in the LARP suit scene.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
So you love the Easter eggs, Cap. So you probably you got rock hard when you
and then
you saw that one.
Yeah, that was a good. And then the other Easter egg for this episode was they had the big advertisement for Rogers the Musical again.
Yeah, I'm wondering because they've included Rogers so much so far. I wonder if that ever would be a Broadway musical. I could see Marvel doing a on Broadway show in the future, because they did Spider-Man. I went to Spider-Man Into the Darkness, I think he was called, way back in the day. So it'd be interesting if they did something Marvel related. Although me and you, Cap, will never be able to go because we're enemies of the state.
Very much Hamilton.
Yeah.
So maybe Disney Plus, since they have Hamilton, they'll be like, you know what? We'll just do this for Disney Plus.
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah.
I think if there's money to be made, Disney will go ahead
and they know people will
rake in that money. So, oh yeah. I mean, I'd be pretty tempted to try, to see it. Yeah. You'd go. But so what do you, I mean, episode 3 where it's still good. Yeah. I'm still enjoying it, man. I gotta say off the bat, the Tracksuit Mafia has become my favorite little villainous crew, man. Did you see the name of their front?
Bro, dude, I was chomping at the bit to bring that up. What did it say? It was on
Trust a Bro Moving.
Yes, on the side of their trucks it said Trust a Bro Moving, which we were talking about in the first episode. Bro. Everything, yeah. So that was pretty hysterical. One before everybody came over, when I could hear the episode the most was towards the beginning, and I enjoyed the opening sequence because it wasn't very combative right off the bat between them being kind of a prisoner and the Tracksuit Mafia. It was a little bit funny, and I believe her name is
Imagine
Echo,
Dragons,
right?
Maya Lopez.
That's
her name.
Okay, but what's her name? Her supervillain name?
They didn't tell us.
Okay, they didn't tell us.
So we kind of figured that out last week as Echo.
To that part.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the dialogue between her and Clint. Even though it wasn't really dialogue, it was American Sign Language, right? Interpreted. She was willing to be like, what's going on? I think she's going to be a different sort of villain,
right?
Not maybe a straightforward of a villain.
Well,
you think she seems.
I mean, for her whole goal is to figure out who Ronan is, because Ronan killed her uncle, who was, her guardian, her caretaker, her person who took care of her, and now they're dead.
Right.
And it is Ronan. I do want to point out what I did like with that scene is Ronan died. Who killed him? Black Widow. Because technically, once Black Widow came in and was like, you don't need to do this, that was it. Ronan's dead.
Right. Technically, right. She stopped him from being Ronan. So right. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm wondering, Clint being Ronan, right? He was still Clint. He was just on a
murderous rampage,
murderous psychotic rampage, because his family was erased from existence, and he had nothing else in life. So he was just out killing people, and
he was killing bad people.
Right.
Yeah, he went Punisher. He went Punisher.
But I think as we kind of saw, and as we're maybe gonna see, mistakes were also made while he was Ronin. Like, was that guy was the dad? He seemed like
that
a
was
nice
her
guy.
uncle. That was her uncle.
Her uncle. He seemed like a nice guy. You know, was he involved in some underground criminal element? Maybe, but like, is every person involved in an underground criminal ring a bad person necessarily? No, that's not true. That's definitely not the case.
Right.
Like, you know, what by whose standard of judgment? You know, Ronin's, maybe his was not perfect, and he killed a couple people who were just kind of bystanders also. So that's what I was thinking.
One thing though, that two things that I liked, her backstory was simple and to the point, you know. She learned how to read mouths, and she learned how to, you know, defend herself, even though she's missing a leg and stuff like that. She's learned how to watch. Her father, I'm pretty sure, is Kingpin, as Danny said. And I think the guy in the black suit who pinched her cheek before the karate competition was the Kingpin. They were talking about her father, how, you know, it's not somebody to be messed with, who, you know, he puts crew ahead of everything and stuff like that. So I'm interested to see. But also, another little Easter egg was what Danny was saying. Echo in the comic book, for her mask, is just a white handprint on her face. And when her uncle died, he touched her face and left a bloody handprint on her face.
Good point.
So I think she's going to be interesting. I had a funny feeling that this episode was going to be about you know, a little character building for the villains and stuff.
I like that she basically told him, like, you rely too much on technology, just talking about the hearing aid, because she's like, I don't have one, and here I am kicking ass.
Yes, well, I like that.
In the end, you'll be better for it.
I think
that'll be, Uncle said.
I think that'll be a little character arc, like maybe character development arc for Clint himself.
Because we saw that he is capable of battling without hearing, but you know, he himself doesn't even know sign language yet, because this is new for him too. So the entire time he's like just going based off of writing, or just hoping he can understand what you're kind of saying to him.
Yeah, I think this show in general, and this episode kind of showed it, although I didn't get everything they said where they were sitting down at the diner and talking. This show is going to like flesh out Clint's character a lot more and develop him a little bit more, because I recall somewhat that they were talking about, you know, like why you are the way you are, like why wasn't the flashy guy, and how I think he was saying something along the lines of he's like not as good a guy or something as you think.
So because even she doesn't know, Kate herself does not know he's Ronin.
Right.
She just knows he's trying to, you know, protect her from them thinking that he's Ronin. I feel like at this point she should kind of comprehend that the 2 and 2 goes together.
I'm wondering when people are going to realize that he's Ronin.
Yeah, like, you know, it's kind of becoming a little suspect at this point.
But
I think his goal is for people to not know, so they don't go after them protecting him.
Well, I said this last week on the last episode too, of his, you know, he isn't the flashy guy, and like he explained it. He's like, you know, my job has been to be a ghost, to be unrecognizable. And she's right. You did fail at that, because, you know, you're Hawkeye, you're an Avenger, you're one of the most famous assassins in the world now. But he kind of just reiterated my point of like why he didn't have a suit, why he doesn't have like such good marketing. But on top of it, like he feels like he's a shoddy father, because he's going to be away from his kids from Christmas. So that's why he was going on his rant also about that he's not a role model, because he doesn't like have his house in order either. That like, you know, taking on a ward like this, or someone looking up to him, is not something he wants. He's playing, you know, the woe is me. I don't, you know, the Jon Snow character.
Very good point. Very good point.
Yeah.
It's, you know, when you think about it, if you were an Avenger, it's hard to have a family. And you've seen every Avenger, you know, the Avengers who do have a family struggle to do both, right? Tony Stark
Tony's
also,
dead.
you know, what's that?
Tony's dead now.
Right.
Like he didn't want to be a part of it because he had a family. Right. Decides to be a part of it. Now he dies.
And you saw him throughout Infinity War, especially the second part, Endgame. You know, he was like, I don't want to be involved anymore. I have something to lose now. You know, and so
for Clint, he's always had something to lose and has kept them on the down low to protect them from all of that. Like, they're aware of the situation. Obviously, his wife has been a part of this for the entire time. But now, you know, the Avengers are done. You would think he'd try to, like, you know, stay with them. And she herself is also aware of Ronin.
The wife?
Yes.
Okay. How do you know that?
Because
I
there
didn't
was
get that.
the part, I think it was the second episode when they're on the phone and she's like, "You're not gonna make it for Christmas, are you?" Like, and they start having a conversation, and I think she knows about Ronan. That's his wife. Obviously, he
Maybe.
might tell her.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe. I mean, he's also an Avenger, so he, she could just be like, oh yeah, he's doing Avenger stuff. But
I think
maybe
I'd have to rewatch
yeah.
it again, but I do think they mentioned. I think she's aware of it. Not
Right.
maybe not the full extent, but I think she has an idea of it.
Gotcha. What do you think, Cap?
I don't know if his wife knows or not, but I was going to bring up the fight scene.
Yeah, go for it.
What happened?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
The fight scene was awesome to change topics here. Once they got a hold of the bow and she had his bow in the car, that little car chase was so much fun. And I'm starting to get a little bit of like the Home Alone vibes, man, where they're playing like the Christmas music as stuff's going on and shit. But when he shot that Pym arrow and then it became, that the giant arrow, I was clapping. I thought that was so great. What a good little callback. Yeah. What a great little tool. And she's like, there's worse arrows than the exploding arrow. She was using all this trick arrows. That was a lot of fun to see.
I like
the different
seeing
ones.
all the different kind of arrows that he had, because I was like, I know there's like different ones for different things. Like I've seen the ones that explode stuff, the one with the grappling hook and all of that, but there was like the putty one, the smoke one, like all of those. It was really interesting to see. She was like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah.
The USB arrow.
So one thing, so it was interesting, the whole arrow thing, right? So being someone who considers himself somewhat of an archer, I was a little bit annoyed at the beginning because they showed close-ups of all his arrows and he's got field practice tips on them. He doesn't have a broadhead or a mechanical tip or anything that I think for some reason Hollywood and movie things, because The Walking Dead makes the same mistake all the time. Every archer uses like practice tips that you would use to practice, not to actually kill anything. When you kill an animal, or when we don't really shoot arrows at humans anymore, but if you were going to, you would treat it the same way you would an animal, and you'd have to put a broadhead, which is essentially a tiny sword on the end of your arrow. 4
swords coming together as one.
Right. A very sharp knife at the end of your arrow because it's going to cut through whatever it is you're shooting at. One of these field tip arrows is maybe going to hit you and puncture you, but it ain't going to do the damage as a broadhead would. So
maybe it's Disney, so maybe they're not trying to go
there's a
for
part
that.
of me that feels like,
but he shot people directly for the most part.
They're probably like, most people probably won't realize.
Oh, yeah. I'm not most people though.
You're not most people.
No.
Most casual people, like, I never would have noticed that. I was just like, it's a regular arrow. Cool,
I saw it, but I didn't think twice about it. That what you would be looking for. You know what I mean? It didn't cross my mind. Was he going to get his arrows now to show the world?
Yes. So for those who are listening, this is what a real arrow that is meant to kill somebody. Looks like. Let's see if it could focus there.
It's not coming
it's not
through
to focus, but I mean, this one has killed.
That one opens up. That one's pretty
this is a
barbaric. Yeah.
This one actually has killed something, as you can see. But that little tiny detail in most shows and whatnot has really annoyed me, especially with Daryl Dixon in The Walking Dead. He's the most badass archer besides Hawkeye, I guess you could say, on TV, and he's shooting field tip.
Like I said,
arrows.
The average person
I
is not going to notice, which is why they get away with it. But it's also probably for the safety of like the cast, in case they do shoot it, that's not going to hurt you as much as like that would.
Oh no, it's going to hurt you.
But I feel like
it's going to hurt, but it's not going to like
go right through you still.
But I mean, I feel like a lot of the violent, let's say, gun scenes, the archery scenes, that stuff's CGI. Like they're shooting a CGI. I'm sure it's really like something he's shooting out of a bow, but it's probably like a green screen, arrow.
So just make it right.
Right. So it doesn't really matter. It could be CGI. So it's just a little attention. We were talking about attention to detail in the last review. So now I'm continuing to pay attention to detail. And that's somewhere where it's not just Hawkeye or Disney. It's almost every show always, for whatever reason, the armor is always miss what a real arrow being shot at somebody would look like.
Yeah.
Uneducated.
Yeah. Another point I wanted to make about the arrows is you were talking last week about how Tony Stark hated Clint and gave him no tech. But as we could see, maybe that's because Hank Pym, he got the Pym tech instead, so maybe you're right. Maybe there was a little beef. There was a beef there.
There was something.
I mean, most of his arrows were coming from shields, so he didn't need Tony to make
true.
them. I was
Yeah,
as
but
I
I
was
mean,
listening, that's what I was thinking. I was like,
Yeah.
I mean, he
but
he
you
had a
got to
job
think
with
though,
Shield first.
Tony, every time he made a new suit was because his old suit failed in some way.
Mhm.
So remember when he froze and I guess it's Iron Man 1 when he takes the bad guy up into space and the
Mhm.
suit freezes.
Mhm.
But the Iron Spider-Man suit was good enough to go into space. It didn't freeze. In Avengers 1, Hawkeye got mind control by Loki, and he didn't make him a helmet. No, like he didn't protect him further on.
It was the arc reactors what stopped Tony from getting mind controlled.
Yeah.
Right.
So there was nothing there that Tony protected some people, but didn't protect Hawkeye at all or help him out.
That was Tony, and that was the arc. That was the arc of his story. He went from douchebag to the guy who saved everybody,
Except for Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I guess in reality, but in their reality, Hawkeye doesn't need to be protected or helped.
I feel like he
he's
just
his own
want
man.
to.
Right,
Yeah.
he's his own man. Yeah.
Because
As long
like
as
he
he's
also probably
funded.
would have been like, no, I don't want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys want to rate the episode, and then we'll go into theorizing or whatnot, or you have any other points you want to make about the episode itself? This one was kind of short. It was only
This was a
40-something
shorter
minutes,
episode.
Oh, I want to point
yeah.
out, because you mentioned it the last episode, we probably will not get an end scene until the second to last episode.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Almost when they all come out is the second to last episode, if not just the last one.
teasing into the finale. I guess
Yeah,
I'd say. Okay.
because that's how it's been for pretty much every other show.
Okay.
But yeah, if you want to do ratings and then some theories.
I'm gonna skip my rating for this one because I couldn't fully.
can't give, like, a
I
valid-
can't give a valid rating because probably the most character development part of the episode when they were in the diner could barely hear what they were saying. It was lower. They were kind of like hushed when they were speaking, and there was just people talking in the house, so I couldn't really hear it. So
And I also want to say it is Lucky the pizza dog.
okay, that is the
Lucky
official-
I was gonna ask, what do we think? I thought they were gonna name the dog Pizza.
Based on what I've seen, it is Lucky the pizza dog.
I'm assuming that the dog is a big part of Kate Bishop's character.
Just like her little sidekick.
Right, that's yes, exactly, something like that, and
Almost like
that's
he
the
is-
purpose it
there
serves in the
Is
comic
already a pop. of
Yeah.
her with the dog.
Yeah, that came out a while. You know what? To talk another good scene was after the fight, and he uses the suction cup arrow to get onto the train, and then they jump into the train, and she's talking, and he can't hear her, and he's like, "You are one of the world's best archers." And then she was like, "Oh, I can't believe you would say that." Blah blah. He's like, "We should probably walk the dog." Right after she realized that, I was cracking up watching that.
Because everything she said, he said like 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
It shows
Oh, so
they're
you-
they're
did you
building
even-
good-
you
they're
probably
building
didn't
a
even
good
see that.
repertoire, right? Because
Yeah.
they're kind of almost finishing each other's sentences now. They make a good funny team.
Yeah.
As much as he
yeah.
wants nothing to do with her. But
Yeah,
we
they're
also
making-
didn't point out the end of the episode.
Oh, I was going to bring
from-
that up in my theories.
In your
Yeah,
theories?
yes,
Okay.
exactly. That's why I usually save
Okay.
the end for. Yeah, so go ahead. You wanted you to give it a shot, rate it.
Ladies first.
I think I'll give it an 8. I really enjoyed that fight sequence, but I preferred the first 2 episodes.
I'm giving it like an 8.5. Just it was great all around, but I'm still, I was right when I said, I think this episode's gonna have the villain's character development. I like where the villain's going. There was little Easter eggs here and there. Just I wish it was longer, I don't feel like it deserves like a full-blown 10,
Okay. So let's get into a little speculation here. At the end of the episode, they go back to the mom's house in Manhattan,
Mhm.
and Clint's walking around, and he gets stopped by his Ronin
Jack.
sword. I was just gonna say Mr. Curly Mustache. I don't even remember what his name is.
It's Jack.
And he's there, kind of like creeping. He stops him with the sword, and that's where
Mhm.
that's where the episode ends. So I want to go back to what you were saying before, Cap, when the new what's her name again? The new
Kate?
No, the villain.
Echo,
Maya.
whatever.
Maya, when she was in the training, and you said her uncle left and said, like, your dad came and touched her or whatnot. You think it's
Kingpin.
I think it's Mr. Curly Mustache. I think that's who her dad is, and he's the guy kind of in charge of this criminal syndicate that has to do with her and the tracksuit mafia guys and whatnot. And we're gonna see he's the bad person in this group that Ronan was maybe after originally, never got
Right.
him, accidentally got the uncle who was maybe the good guy to the family.
I don't
That's
know.
my theory.
Maybe that's a pretty good theory.
We do know this man is being very, very secretive,
Mhm.
but I think hiding a child might, especially like, I feel like either Maya would know Kate is a part of that, or
But we don't know that much though about what she knows about her dad yet. We only know, and he also like I'm sorry, I'm trying to like justify my theory here.
You're
but
fine.
He was wearing like a black suit, like similar vibe almost. I don't know.
But I don't know. I definitely think Jack is not a good person. Obviously, he's hiding something. What is that? I don't know just yet. But he might be a separate entity. If not a separate entity, he might have nothing to do with Maya herself.
Like a red herring.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like that kind of situation.
Right. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm good. My train of thought is like going in 10 different tracks.
Sorry if I interrupted your train of thought, but yeah, I still think there's going to be a big reveal of a bigger villain, or that there's going to be two types of villains, and Jack and this unknown whoever controls Maya and the tracksuit gang. I do like your theory though of that Jack could be the father, because that would be a good callback, a pinnacle shocking point. I'm still really hoping for Kingpin, because Kingpin was an awesome character, and Echo is supposed to be Kingpin's daughter, so we'll see. But Jack, I think, and I saw some stuff online, I don't know if it's confirmed or not, there's a character in the Marvel comic universe called Swordsman, and apparently he did some shisty behind the scenes stuff to become an Avenger, and people on the team like Clint Barton and Hawkeye, whatever, were suspicious of him. And well, he's a sneaky MFer and he's good with a sword, so maybe he could be the swordsman.
Sounds a lot like Mr. Mustache Man.
Yeah.
Well, we learned he can fence, even though he wanted to hide that.
And he collects swords.
Right. As you see, he's got Ronin's sword, right? So.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that's the only reason. He killed Uncle. I'm gonna say.
Oh no, I believe that too.
And
I think he killed Armando, or whatever his name was.
Armando
the third.
People who are listening and watching, we tend, like when we had Danny on last week, he like will go into comic book spoilers. The three of us try not to, or we don't really read comic book spoilers. So I mean, maybe you're sitting there watching or reading this, and you're like, they don't know this. Well, yeah, we don't want to know this. We want to just be completely, for the most part,
like
we want to be surprised by what the show, what the television, what the live action universe has to offer.
I did not watch Daredevil.
Oh, that's a good one.
But I did see, and reason why people believe Maya's dad is Kingpin. There was some scene with the cufflinks, something like that. I did see a lot of people are speculating that Kingpin is her dad, and apparently he had something to do with Daredevil. But again, this is my
he was the main villain
of Daredevil.
Yeah.
So, and supposedly that's coming in. So
hopefully, we'll see.
It could all work, because if Daredevil's going to be part of Spider-Man, Kingpin was one of Spider-Man's villains. Kingpin's one of Daredevil's villains. He is a Marvel Universe villain, and these underworld these heroes that like Daredevil, the Defender type heroes that are not the Tony Starks and Steve Rogers. He's a great supervillain for the lower level crime of New York City in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, definitely. He's a critical villain for you're right, like organized crime, stuff that works well for television shows.
Yes,
compared to the movies, like
big like alien villains.
Right. It's good, like bridge the gap to something else. Like,
especially for Hawkeye himself, because he is like secret agent type.
Fits
smaller. Villains, not.
I mean, Hawkeye's not taking on.
Thanos.
I mean, he fought Thanos, but I'm saying like outside of Avengers, Infinity War, Endgame, he's him and like
he's
Natasha,
a ground guy,
whatever. But I do want to point out, I'm waiting for Yelena.
Oh, I saw.
What's that?
She's Yelena.
Natasha's sister is going to be in it. Apparently, sorry, spoiler warning, but she's on
spoiler warning.
She's on the cast list.
Well, she was on the IMDb list.
I know
she was on IMDb list for this episode. She was not in this episode.
Yeah, so she's on the list though. So
what if she was and we just didn't see her?
Maybe I don't like that.
That might be stretching it a little bit.
I don't like that they do that though. Just from
Well,
I saw that too.
They don't always do it because
maybe she won't. Maybe it was a mistake by IMDb.
It could just be them, messing with us because Evan Peters was not on IMDb until he was released in the actual episode of WandaVision. Like there was speculation that he was going to be in it, but if you went on IMDb, he was not there. Yeah. So I think it's just kind of like to mess with us.
Yeah, it could be.
But I do think she will be in the show because that's her whole thing.
Yeah, he's got a huge connection to Black Widow, so it only makes sense.
I just want to bring up a funny point. We were talking about before how he was like, I fought Thanos. I saw a funny meme, and it was Thor when he's doing like the sarcastic face, and it's like, and it's Clint. He's like, I fought Thanos, and Thor's like, did you really? He really didn't though, like directly fight Thanos. He fought in the battle against Thanos, but I don't think he ever squared up with Thanos like Steve.
Yeah, did he ever get hands on with Thanos?
No, he would be crushed instantly because he's just a human. Like Steve could hold up, could maybe hold his own.
Because like Black Widow herself, she mostly went against like his children, not Thanos.
The ground people, the henchmen, that's who they're in charge of.
Right, exactly.
Because that's more their level.
Yeah, I thought that was a little funny. All right,
cool.
Everybody.
That's been, you good? We're good?
Yeah, we're good. I'm good.
That's been another Doomed review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. And check us out next week for episode 4. Maybe Skaggs will be here. Maybe he won't.
We'll see. All right. Later, everybody.
Bye.